We're recording this, by the way, so you'll get the video. I'll send it to you after as well. You can review this. But in the first 15 minutes, I'd love to deliver a bunch of value. And I think the best thing is to learn from experience. So I want to tell you that in 2012, I read my first real solid investment book. My parents didn't give me any books to read. They gave me newspapers and we had discussions. But the first book that really changed my world when it came to money and investing was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And we'll talk about that quite a bit. And one thing he talked about was multiple streams of income. And as soon as I read this book, I said, whoa, I want multiple streams of income. Because at that time, I only had one stream of income, which was my job. And like I said, most people will be conditioned to have only one stream of income. They'll be conditioned to have just a job. And that's only one stream of income. That's very, very limiting. So that was 2012. It's 2019. I'm very happy to report 7 years later, I've got multiple streams of income. And I've done many solid, profitable investment deals. Okay? And it was like the desire that I had was launched, was created when I read that book to have very profitable investment deals. He talks about 100% rates of return. So I want to talk to you about some of the best deals I've done. Okay, so the first amazing deal that I did that really opened my eyes up to investing was through a gentleman named Glenn Estrabillo. Okay, Glenn Estrabillo is a Filipino entrepreneur here in Toronto. Anybody know him? You know him? Yeah? Very cool.
I've met him, but I don't know him personally, but I've met him.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So he was my first real estate mentor and my first real investor mentor. Okay, I guess aside from my parents. So Glenn loves real estate. He's been a multimillionaire through real estate twice. So once retired and then came back out of retirement and did it again. Can we turn the heat up as well a little bit? I feel it's a little chilly, just for me personally. And I see a little, yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you so much. By the way, team at the back, Ryan and Monica, wave.
Morning, everyone.
Anything you guys need, they're here. So Glenn, I met him at Yorkdale one day, Yorkdale Mall, and he showed me this short little PowerPoint presentation and laid out this little plan to have a great real estate investment that would net me over 100% rate of return. Okay, so he outlines this little strategy. This is a house in Michigan. It's very similar to what I invested in. Okay, this property, very similar to this, small, nothing extravagant about this house, except the fact that it provides shelter for people. Now this was in 2012, 2013. So this was not that long after the 2008, 2009 real estate crash and general crash, economic crash, okay? He said to me, if you can put in $20,000 or more, what we'll basically do is we'll buy this property. He actually showed me an actual property with the address and everything in Michigan. And he said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix it up. We're gonna buy it, we're going to fix it up, and then we're going to refinance the mortgage, which means reappraise the value of the property at the true value after the renovations. Okay? What you'll get back when we refinance is your deposit, my $20,000. After that, we'll rent out this home to a family, and we'll provide shelter to a family, which, remember, Michigan, not the wealthiest state, okay, and at that time, after the crash, real estate not that good. Many people lost jobs in America, right? They got hit harder than Canada. So he said, we're going to rent it out to a family that needs it. That made me feel really good. Okay? And in 6 to 8 months, you get your principal back. That's what they finished the renovations. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rent it out to that family, and we're going to do rent to own. So one day that family of like 3 kids and, parents, we're going to rent it out to them so that they can then rent to own it. So in the end, their rent money will contribute towards owning it. Then we'll sell them the property at a profit several years later, after they can appreciate it and after they get to that point. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. He had testimonials, he had case studies, he had people that I knew. He gave me some of those people to talk to that I could check with. He explained it all to me. It was very simple. So what I did is I gave him about $22,500, okay, Canadian. 6 to 8 months later, whenever it was, they reevaluated and refinanced the property. I got my principal money back because the house was worth more and the mortgage was, about the same. So he gave me that money back. So in 6 to 8 months, I had my full money back, free and clear. And then for the next 3 years, I got rent checks every month, $100, $100, $100 a month, every month. And then after, I think it was about 3.5 years, then we sold the property to the family, and I made another $20,000 $22,000 back. $22,000. Next one that I did was actually right here in Toronto, not that far from here. It was at Keele and Finch, and that's the property right there. It's right by York University, okay? Key demand there, York University. 31 Four Winds Drive, my first property. That was when I was 21. And it was a steal of a deal because, I need a marker. This is the Wi-Fi, by the way, in case y'all need it. So it was a steal of a deal because it was listed at $180,000. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. Okay, condo, nice balcony, looking towards the village, the university village there, and a lot of students and a lot of new Canadians coming to Toronto at that time as well. So it was listed for $180,000, but when we went to see the property, it was completely empty. It was basically naked. Okay, so what I mean by that is the walls were white, the floors were white, there were no floors, the bathrooms, everything was white. It was not furnished at all. It was just like a white, empty, blank piece of concrete. Okay? And this was my first property, so my parents helped me analyze it and examine it. So they saw that it needed a lot of work. Okay, a lot of work. We needed to put in new floors, we had to repaint everything, we had to put in, the kitchen needed to be replaced as well. So my parents said, you know what we should do? It's going to take a lot of work. We should offer them $140,000. Okay, knock off the price, 40 grand. We put in an offer for 140 grand. They did not accept it. They came back with 144. Still a big savings. By the way, most properties in this area at that time were going around this rate, okay, this amount, this price. They said 144, we said 142. We played that game back and forth. They got what they wanted. They got 144. Okay, turns out the family was in Italy for a death in the family, and they had left in the middle of when they were renovating it. But I guess they needed the cash. They weren't going to come back anytime soon. They put it for sale. I guess they were intending on finishing the renovations. Anyway, so we got a good deal. We locked it in at $144,000. I lived there, and then I had a tenant. So it was occupied by me and a tenant. And the tenant was paying me, I think it was like $500 a month. It was a friend of mine. Gave him a good deal. 2-bedroom, right? And I had that tenant there for like 3 years. Okay? Then I moved back with my parents to help them sell their property. And then I had it fully rented. And the full rental to a nice couple was about, this was a while ago now, I'm trying to remember. Let's say $1,500 a month, okay? So $1,500 a month. And I did that with them for about 2 years, okay? Then I moved in with my wife and the kids at their place and sold my property. And I listed it, what did I list it for? I listed it at the time, this was 2016 now. This was 2007. Wow. That's going back. So it was 2016. I listed it for sale, for $210,000. But the market was really hot. Some of you know the market in 2016 was really, really hot, right? It started to cool down in 2018. So 2016, 17, 18 were like really hot years for real estate in Toronto. It's very, very hot. I got 3 offers, 2 of them at $210,000 at the asking price, and the third one at $225,000 I sold. Okay? Nice profit there. And I'll go through the reasons and the technicals of like why and how that was a great deal later on. Another great deal I've done, because again, this is an investment workshop. There's all different kinds of investments. Anybody know this company? Everybody knows this company, right? In 2008, I was working full-time for a really great company, getting paid really well, and they had a stock plan. They had a stock matching plan. So I could purchase the company's stock, and they would buy it every 6 months at a 15% discount. That's another good deal. I got a 15% discount. So I'd pay like $85 when the stock was actually $100. If I wanted the next day, I could flip it and make $15 per share. Okay? But this company, I started to notice in 2008, 2007, and I started to pay attention to their growth, the explosions of their growth, their dominance in the media. They created a whole new trend. They created a whole new yoga line of clothing, right? And people, they loved it, and it took off. So my knowledge of stocks from the previous years, I could see that this was going up. And I knew what eventually would happen was that the stock would split. This is a little bit of advanced knowledge. Thankfully, my parents gave me when I was younger. So the stock was going up, 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 up. And as we'll learn later, everything has cycles, as my friend Richard taught me. And everything has ups and downs. So I knew that if the stock went too high, eventually they would want the stock to split, which means cut it in half, essentially doubling the shares. So I basically watched the growth, and I watched the news, and I watched the financials of the company, and I saw that actually it was going to split. It was a very, very good possibility that it could split. So I bought it at like $65. At $85 it split. Okay, so that means it doubled, and then the price went back down to $44, so they cut it in half. But since the momentum and the excitement was still high, and it was in the news, and the brands were still taking off, stores were opening up, everybody, all the girls were wearing their clothes, I knew that it would continue to rise because the dust had not settled yet. So it went back down to 44. I had twice as many shares, and then it went back up to about 50, 52, and I sold it at like 52. Okay, so I doubled my money because of the split, and then I was also given, and then I also rode the wave a little bit for the extension when it continued to rise, and I sold it. This is another one. This is another stock. This is a Canadian company. This is a current snapshot from Google. Okay, so the last 1 year, this has not done that much. It's gone up, down, and then it's kind of ended up down over the last 6 months. But this stock, one day I was in the doctor's office. Anybody read those magazines in the doctor's office ever? Flip through them once in a while. You never know what you might find. One day I was just flipping through one of the magazines in the doctor's office. There's this big article about this company, Teck Resources, Canadian mining company. And this was, I think, 2009. And I read the article, and it had, promising financials and promising news and great company and, Canadian mining, which now Canadian mining is kind of shaky. It's been that way for the last few years, but we're talking 10 years ago, right? So they had just changed the name and basically consolidated and eaten up the company with another mining company. So they kind of joined forces. This had good momentum, good financials, good news. And something told me, just right place, right time, something told me, go home and buy this stock. And I just listened to that little voice. And at the time, that stock was about $30. And then I watched it rise over the next few weeks to 32, then to 35, then to 39 over the next couple months. And then 44 is when it kind of peaked, and it kind of stopped there. And I sold it at 44, basically. So if I bought 1,000 shares at $30, right, and then I sold that same 1,000 at $45, that's a really healthy profit, right? That's $15 per share. And I told my dad about this stock, and I said, Dad, this is going to be huge, just you watch. I don't know. My dad ended up telling his friends about it. My dad did not buy the stock. My dad's friends bought the stock. My dad lost out, and the friends won. The friends got it. And the friends were like, thank your son for us, thank your son. I was like, yeah, you can buy me steak, you can buy me a dinner. And this is the last one I'm going to talk about. And some of you know I'm a big fan of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Some of you do, some of you don't. Some of you are invested in the current deal that we have, and we're doing very well. It's going very well. I want to talk about Bitcoin specifically, though, because this was the first cryptocurrency, but it was also the first investment into cryptocurrency that I made. So this was, oh gosh, when was it? 2016. This thing's been around for over 10 years now, by the way. Okay, over 10 years Bitcoin's been around. And 2016 I heard about it. Okay, so 2009 it's been around. So it had already been around for 7 years. And in 2016 I heard about it. And what I had heard was that it was decentralized, meaning no central authority can control it. There's no middle person, meaning no intermediary can get in the way of it. You can transfer it digitally within seconds from your phone. And it costs cents on the dollar to transfer. So these combination of things to me were like, whoa, this is brilliant. I spent several hours in 2016 researching it in November, and I became absolutely convinced that this was going to be around, that this was going to be valuable, and that this was going to continue to grow in value. Okay? I did not put my money down. 2016. I was convinced, but not enough to invest. And this is a key. 4 months later, it came back into my world. It came back into my life. When the news started, there was one news article that talked about it. Oh yeah, that's right, Bitcoin. Some friends were talking about it. Some friends had got into it. And I said, you know what? I think now's the time. Convinced again. Here's a key. I started small. I started with $300. Okay? If you've seen my Bitcoin course or you've taken or you've been to my Bitcoin course, you know I bought it at an ATM. And it was the weirdest thing because I'm putting cash in a machine and I got nothing back. I got no receipt, I got no cash, I got nothing. 2 minutes later, I got a little ding ding on my phone. And it said, you now have 0.1 Bitcoin in your digital wallet. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. And I felt pretty uneasy about it. But 2 weeks later, I went back and bought more because it had gone up about 20% in value. And I was very happy at that time. So what I've done with Bitcoin over time is I've continued to invest and reinvest. I've bought and sold, buy low, sell high. That's a very simple thing, simple investing advice, but a lot of people don't do that, unfortunately. But thanks to my parents' knowledge and wisdom, I did that. And so I freely kind of regularly buy and sell Bitcoin right now. And I went through a period for a few years where I was helping people buy Bitcoin and helping them get invested as well. And now we have a fund which is passively invested and passively monitored and managed by professionals, a team of 6 different traders, which are 20-year Forex traders, and we've done 100% each year for the last 2 years, this year included. We'll probably do over 100% this year. And some of you are invested in that fund. And we believe that for the next 3 or 4 years, there will be a massive opportunity in cryptocurrency. And you'll see why. You'll see why the opportunity is now, and you'll see why the opportunity will dissipate in 3 to 4 years as well. Okay? But this workshop is about investing as a whole. This is all about investments and investing. Okay? Now you heard the good. Who wants to hear the bad?